This is the first of 4 films in a series recording our third trip to Cuba in 2005, concentrating on the sugar industry and the railway systems associated with that once very powerful industry.
The facade of Havana Central Station is quite clearly an indication of the original status of passenger railways in this island, but the inside of the station, the booking office and the deserted platforms give a truer reflection of the situation in modern Cuba. Our adventure started not at the central station, but in a suburban station which now had a selection of museum exhibits undercover and some outside in the open. This station was no longer used, as far as we could determine, for passenger traffic. Nevertheless, we lined up behind our Manalik loco in readiness for a ride of some 20 or 30 kilometres in the direction of Manalik Mill. One of the very evident features of Cuban railways, certainly in suburban Havana, is the way that the tracks cut straight across roadways using totally ungated crossings, no restriction whatsoever, other than a police guard indicating to traffic that they should stop, at least on some of the crossings. We didn't see any problems from the use of that system, but undoubtedly it was fraught with danger, or would have been, in a more heavily loaded network. all urban railways give a backdoor view of life in the city, and Havana and its railways are no exception. The worrying thing from a Cuban standpoint is the apparent lack of industrial activity despite the existence of a large amount of industrial infrastructure in a state of varying degrees of disrepair. Here are two pictures showing the total contrast between steam traction, a modern road, and the airport in the background.
And this tidy little station at Bajugal is where we're scheduled to have a run past.
Little run by, false starts, whatever the term is. Plenty of black smoke. Here's our little spectators. These are some 3 still pictures of the same run past that we've just witnessed. 1510 doing its stuff. A little bit further down the line we actually had some spectators. Always intrigued, kiddies. And there's a turntable which is no longer in use at this station, which is just coming into view. This was once quite a significant junction, but no longer functions in quite the same way. Nevertheless, it provided a good location for yet another run past. Looking for the lorry, not the young lady. At San Felipe station, a little further down the line, Sandra had an opportunity to photograph the young families who came out to watch what was going on and parade their families of young children to the camera. Proud mothers, I'm sure. And an American car in the sunshine. This was a very brief stopover at Manelick Mill, the stabling point for the 2 standard gauge locos, 1402 and 1510, one of which we were using for our journey. We made a longer visit, the following day. Martinez Prieto mill, our next stopover, is another mill which is undergoing a metamorphosis. It no longer processes raw cane, but does act as a sugar refinery. It also houses a collection of locomotives which are referred to as a museum collection, but as you will see, some of them are basically rusting hulks in a long line in the sunshine with, I would have thought, little prospect of anything being done to them. Here's the lineup to which I've just referred. Substantial standard gauge locos from a variety of mills, not exclusively from this particular mill. In Havana, Martinez, which is partly a museum, but there's the usual line of dumped locomotives. Whether they'll ever be restored for exhibition, who knows? And this is the third one. This one has still got its plate. Bill says I can't have it. It's broken actually. Dead. And there's the row of engines. And this is the first one. Further down, closer to the mill. The mill is still operating as a refinery, apparently. I wonder if this happens to professional photographers. I wonder if they forget to turn off their equipment when they're engaged on supplementary activity. I clearly didn't, so here I am taking a shot of a static loco further down the track. In fact, the next still photograph you will see is the picture that I took at that moment. These exhibits had been tidied up, and in a moment or two, there she is. That little loco is purported to be the oldest working locomotive on the island, dated 1878, a Baldwin loco. there was evidence that it had been working in the fields. So there we have it. So here we are again for our second visit to Manalik Mill. The mill is not operational for this harvest or zafra. What's happening is that the cane is being harvested, brought to the first loading point. A new standard gauge loop line has been laid out to that loading point, and the two engines that we've been watching are used to travel to that loading point, bring in the cane trains, which are then transported down the main line to a mill where they can be processed. The narrow gauge locos, which used to operate, are in mothballs.
Whether the narrow gauge line will ever be reconnected and the locomotives brought back into service is a matter of some conjecture.
So here we are at the first loading point. The rails in the foreground are the severed narrow gauge line, and the white ballast is the base of the new standard gauge line, which has been laid in to the loading point. And Loco 1402 is just approaching that loading point.
The loading point is a new standard gauge spur laid in with a white ballast. The standard gauge Loco is manoeuvring onto the frame of the full wagon, which is going to take back into the mill, and then they'll be transported to another mill, Hector Molina, I think it's called. Plenty of nice smoke, but not much else.
So this is the security man guarding the entrance to the narrow gauge and standard gauge, for that matter, engine shed. 1402 is just coming out of the shed. We were allowed entrance to the shed, which houses the narrow gauge locos, on which some work does appear to be being done. This is the Manning Wardle, which is also being worked on, very old loco, which has been wheeled out into the sunshine, but whether that will ever steam is a matter of some conjecture.
The shed in its depth throws.
For those of you who have watched my films of last year's visit to the mill, you will have seen most of these locomotives working in the evening sunlight, hither and thither in the mill yard, and now they're laid up with no real prospect, I would think, of being reused. Only time will tell.
This is the other one right at the back of the shed. Just dumped. This is a narrow gauge one. Farewell, Manalik. There's the frames from which the boilers behind have been lifted. Another shot of 1402 just hanging around waiting. changing the point to come back and connect with the caboose. And there's Phil.
Ya debe estar entrando, ya debe estar formando. En Winnie vamos a entrar por el triángulo. Para el destino. Por el triángulo para allá. Sí, entramos así salimos de frente para acá. Ya está todo el mundo arriba, ¿ya? Sí, ya todo el mundo arriba. La guía y todo.
We've now moved along the main line to Gwynedd, which is probably the location of the mill where the sugarcane from Manalik Mill is being processed and where the trains are being drawn. And there's one actually in a siding, so that's confirmation, I think, of what I've just said.
Triangle. We're going to reverse around there.
Ya la parada obligatoria, tiene que se corre un poquito para adelante. Viene un inspector ahí, un importado ahí, tiene que se corre un poquito para adelante. ¡Punto! Un toque te corre para allá, está corrido la parada obligatoria, no se quede muy inspector ahí.
There's a CM break-off train coming into the station, and we're having to wait for it.
It's out.
Passenger train. Train is moving over.
Boris said this is out of town.
So the there we are. So this is our loco pulling away from Gwynas. Hopefully stopping to allow me to get back on again. Obviously not starting just yet. Not exactly in a hurry to make a start. So I've just walked back up the central path to see whether they've forgotten completely about me, and there it is, still waiting. Picturesque little station. Wall of palms, locals, rubbish on the right hand side is of course sugarcane from the sugarcane wagon siding. Hola. Hola. I'll get it back and walk back to the train.
The term patience of Job comes to mind when I think of our 5-hour wait at Rincon station. we were planning to go to Hershey to the electric railway and run steam on the electric railway. But the bureaucracy of Cuban railways and sugar mills frustrated us, and after 5 hours we went off in a completely different direction. Nevertheless, there was plenty to see at the level crossing as all the world passed by.
Horse conveyances, people, cross section of Cuba. There's the old clerestory roofed American coach further up the line. Chevrolet, green Chevrolet that crossed just a moment ago is the carry-all model. We saw one on the A303, which is the only one in the country. And that particular one is an image of it, exact image of it, albeit with Cuban workmanship. Bill and Tony, bright blue Manchester shorts on. Side to side. With the train longer than I have. The Sanders must be on the train now.
Yeah.
Phil's got his blue trousers in everybody's picture. Get your trousers out of the picture.
Probably have them on, make the most of it.
It's Manchester City blue. After 3 hours, it's moving. what that manoeuvre was all about?
So the end result of all that was a run down the line in a completely different direction through stations that we'd already visited, Bejugal, San Felipe and so on, down to Gwynedd. They say Gwynedd is good for you. I enjoyed it anyway. I enjoyed the whole event. The people were wonderful, and there's Sandra, and there's some cane cutting and burning, and there or here is a run past about to begin in the station at Gwynedd.
Again. We come down through Manalik to Gwynedd, only this time we're passing straight on through rather than turning on the triangle. Beautiful sunshine. The train is just out of camera shot. We're waiting for a run past. Here we are. Gwynedd is good for you. Whilst we're waiting for the train, a church in the background behind the washing. Here we are.
So these few closing shots and background music these youngsters were selling caged wild birds. At least I think that's what they were doing. We saw them in several places in the rural areas. They were unsuccessful on this occasion. We gave them a few bob instead. We finally said goodbye to our faithful Loco 1510 at Osvaldo Sanchez Mill. It had done sterling service 1510 when you consider it had normally punted round the works at Manalik. And there we are, there's the little group saying goodbye to us. And that's the end of our first disc of this holiday.